Ah, perfect. Too bad the background music won't pick up with it. So, Proposition 1D protects children's service funding, helps balance state budget. Provides more than $600 million to protect children's programs in difficult economic times, redirects existing tobacco tax money to protect health and human services for children, including services for at-risk families, services for children with disabilities, and services for foster children, temporarily allows the redirection of existing money to fund health and human service programs for children 5 years old and under, ensures counties retain funding for local priorities, helps balance state budget. Summary of legislative analysts' estimate of net state and local government fiscal impact. State general fund savings of up to $608 million in 2009-2010 and $268 million annually from 2010-2011 through 2013-2014 from temporarily redirecting a portion of funds from the California Children and Families Program in place of state general fund support of health and human services programs for children up to age 5. Corresponding reductions in funding for early childhood development programs provided by the California Children and Families Program. Alright. So, first, let's see what the argument in favor of Proposition 1D says. California children deserve our protection. The state of California has a long history of approving special dedicated funds for children's services. Given the state's current and ongoing budget challenges, we need to take extraordinary steps to once again protect services for children under the age of 5. Blah, blah, blah. Redirect $340 million currently held by the state First 5 Commission and transfer $268 annually for the next 5 years into programs such as child welfare services, early intervention prevention services for infants and toddlers with developmental disabilities, adoption assistance, foster care, kinship, guardianship assistance, and direct health care services. It's consistent with Proposition 10, which is where the First 5 money comes from. We raised cigarettes at 50 cents a pack 10 years ago, and that money's gone into First 5. That was Proposition 10, way back then. In tough economic times, families suffer great stress, and large numbers of children are seen in the child welfare and foster care system. Now more than ever, the state must use all its available resources to protect and sustain existing programs. This measure will ensure that children under the age of 5 continue to receive the services currently available to them. Voting for this measure will not permanently shift these funds away from their original purpose. The solution will help solve California's current budget crisis and prevent further cuts in services to children under the age of 5. Please vote yes to help our state continue critical services to children under the age of 5. Robert Baldo, Executive Director, Association of Regional Center Agencies. He does not know how to write for the web. That whole thing, and I didn't read the whole thing, was 4 paragraphs long. There were no bolded words, no capitalized words, bad keyword density. Robert Baldo does not know how to write for the web. So anyway, it's time to use the but. Rebuttal to argument in favor of Proposition 1D. Let's see what the but says. Proposition 1D eliminates funding for our children. Who do you trust? The politicians who wrote the ballot description above, or parents, teachers, doctors, nurses, and law enforcement officials who are voting no on Prop 1D? Professor Joe Kane, Dean School of Education, Mills College, says, Proposition 1D hurts children. It will cut effective preschool and early education programs that are key to children's long-term success in schools. Albert Wang, MD, co-chair, Friends of Children with Special Needs. I'm not going to do a special needs voice. That's just wrong. Prop 1D will eliminate proven anti-smoking programs that keep families healthy and lower healthcare costs that burden every taxpayer. Sheriff Lee Baca, who is not Japanese, from Los Angeles County, says, Prop 1D cuts effective programs that start kids on the right track to keep them out of trouble that will hurt kids and add to the strain on law enforcement and taxpayers. Lisa Greer, past PTA president of Riverside Drive Elementary School, says, as a PTA bomb, I don't want to see $1.6 billion taken away from local programs and put in the hands of Sacramento bureaucrats. Hee hee. She didn't laugh. That was me. Prop 1D violates the will of voters who twice approved local health, education, and smoking programs. Now in these tough times, common sense says the last thing our children and families need is cuts to local health and education programs and to lose more money to Sacramento politicians. Sincerely, Delane Easton, former California Superintendent of Schools, Georgine Lowe, Registered Nurse Health Linkages Coordinator, Santa Barbara County, and Elizabeth Heitschuh, Coordinator of Early Childhood Education, UCLA Education Extension Division. Having read Prop 1D, I think both sides are misstating what's really going on. I guess that's not really something that should be considered a surprise, though. Alright, let's see. So then the other side, then the people against it get to say their thing, and then the people that are for it get to use their butt and do the thing on the other side. You'll see. So here's the argument against Prop 1D. So like the thing I just said was the rebuttal to the argument in favor. So those same people, generally, are now going to make their main argument against it. So they're not replying to anything like this time. They're composing a new message Apple N, not Apple R. Apple S is your friend. The most important thing voters should know about Prop 1D is that it will take $1.6 billion away from critical local health and education programs for young children and give it to Sacramento politicians. Placed on the ballot by politicians to take local funding from health and education programs in every community. These funds are approved by voters. Don't be fooled by the deceptive ballot description written by Sacramento politicians. In 1998, Californians voted to decide tobacco taxes to dedicate those to specific local health education programs for children. In 2000, the tobacco companies tried to take this funding away and were soundly defeated at the ballot box. That's not true, but I mean the intent is good. Today, Sacramento politicians are trying to take these funds away. California voters said no to big tobacco. It's also not true, but I wish it were. Now we must say no to Sacramento bureaucrats of voting no on Prop 1D. Prop 1D will eliminate healthcare immunization booster shots for 120,000 children, preschool education services for more than 200,000 children, smoking prevention aimed at 550,000 pregnant women and parents of young children, $36 million every year for children's hospitals, school nurses, and smoking prevention. Prop 1D will make the budget worse because it gives the money to bureaucrats. Independent studies show that every dollar invested in young children yields a $7 return on savings on courts, prisons, remedial education, foster care. That is true. Proposition 1D is the kind of short-term Sacramento gimmick that created our state budget crisis in the first place. Then they're repeating themselves, and then the website, www.noonproposition1d.com. I know it's really noonproposition1d.com, but what's easier to remember? Well, noonproposition1d.com, of course. Pamela Pimentel, registered nurse, maternal child health specialist. Pamela Sims-Mackey, MD, associate director of medical education, Children's Hospital and Research Center, Oakland. Leticia Alejandres, executive director, California Family Resource Association. Okay, so they got a little excited, but they made some cogent points. The first paragraph was all in caps, and then they had some bullets halfway through. And they have a website, so that's all right. So here's the but. Okay, so they're using their but here against Prop 1D. Let's see. Today, state and local first five commissions are sitting on almost $2.5 billion in unspent tax funds. At the same time, our most vulnerable children face deep cuts to health and social services programs that were enacted to close California's $42 billion budget gap. Prop 1D ensures that these programs continue to get the funds they need to keep the doors open. It temporarily redirects a portion of unspent money to protect at-risk children across California over the next 5 years. Prop 1D will provide hundreds of millions of dollars in funding services to children under the age of 5. If Prop D does not pass, these vital services will lose this funding. As California faces this unprecedented fiscal crisis, it's critical we spend our tax dollars as wisely as possible, while taking every step possible to protect our most vulnerable. That's why I need to vote yes. It protects our youngest and neediest children by ensuring essential programs receive the funding they desperately require, protects local first five commissions, allowing them to continue their vital work in California's communities, and does not raise your taxes by using existing unspent money that the state already has in its account. During this economic time, let's take the step to protect our children. Vote yes, blah, blah, blah. Javier Guzman, principal consultant of the California Latino Child Development Association, and the aforementioned Robert Baldo. We should call him Senor Calvo. I don't know. So let's see. They give you the facts, too, besides those opinions. The opinions are just more fun to read. It is true that there is, as of June 30th, $2.1 billion in unspent funds locally and $400 million at the state level. But it doesn't say specifically what that money is being used for. They could be saving it for something. Maybe a rainy day. I mean, some of the state does get rain, right? Even though it's a sunshine state. Basically, the state is saying, hey, we gave you that money for children's services and you didn't spend it on that. We want it back now. But don't worry, we'll pay you back. And do you believe them? There's really no right answer to this proposition. Like, I was very emphatic in my yes on 1A and 1B and my no on 1C. 1D, it really depends. If you really think that they're going to take that money and use it for things and pay it back later, then it's not a bad idea. But the thing about First Five is they're trying to save their money in case something goes wrong, because you don't want to mess with First Five. If First Five goes away because there's not enough money, do you think we're going to bail out First Five if they run out of money? No. We'll just say, sorry, we don't have enough money for First Five. Now we got to just do First Four. And then, sorry, we don't have enough money. We can't do First Four anymore, but we have more than enough to do First Three. We'll do First Pi. So I'm going to vote no, because I think in terms of First Five, things are fine the way they are. I don't want to make it more complicated by having money be borrowed against it. It's like Prop 43 a few years ago, where we borrowed against the fuel tax and put it into the general fund. I don't know if that money ever got put back either. So pass Past performance tells me it will not work out the way we want, and that's why I'm voting no on Proposition 1D.